There's latency right here, so yeah, I have no idea. There we go. You know, there's a really good chance they're going to DMCA my video for this, right? Not your music. So I got the rights to this, and Universal or Warner or whoever it is this week is going to try and lay claim to it. So I tell you, I'm crazy tired of that one. All right, so I'm just gonna. This is gonna be kind of a short one. I guess welcome to dropping in a pipeline audio, aloha and all that. And today I just pretty much got some studio updates and some just technical stuff. And so first of all, if you happen to be in Hawaii and you're listening to this today, June the 15th, I think, Saturday, we have the Kailua Saturday night market. And if you know the history of our school since I've been here, I used to encourage the more motivated kids to form up bands. I mean, we had like an 8-year-old band that ended up kind of taking over everything. And we would tell them to play any place they could find electricity. And one of those places was the old Thursday night weekly farmers market in Kailua. We used to set up every week. They'd play shows in town as well. And we just don't have that active of a live music program like we used to. So we're doing this thing once a month. I talked a little bit about it before, moving to a new type of live system to do things a lot quicker and easier. Get the stage volume down. This particular one has a looks like an airplane hangar. So there's a roof that starts, I think, about 12 feet overhead and ends up about 25 feet overhead. So you can imagine you hit one snare drum in there and the entire place is pretty crazy. The organizer at first wanted me to bring all kinds of speakers and stuff, and I was just like, man, I bring one speaker in here, all your vendors are gonna be mad. Plus there's houses right there. So I ended up with just a pair of speakers, but even having a real drum set was too much in there. This week we're going to take an electronic kit. And what I wanted to do was to get like an X32 or an XR18 and use the amplifier simulators in there, mostly just for the speaker part of it, and just have the bands bring their pedals or whatever other crap they're going to bring and plug into that. Instead of bringing really, even a 50-watt amp is just too much. So I'm going to be running everything through the PA system. And I don't remember if you guys ever seen the old videos of the Random Weirdos when we were kind of testing and creating that Reaper Live system, where we were just running the entire thing through a computer. And I was taking a laptop and I could walk out in the crowd and I could switch all their effects and stuff. I could mix from wherever I wanted to. And then nowadays we have all these, fast forward a couple of years, right now you can just go out right out in the crowd with an iPad and mix your whole concert. And so, something like that, much, much simpler than having a bunch of 8-year-old kids roll a computer out and learn how to do that entire thing, which they did. So that was awesome. But now that you can just do it in kind of in one rack and use an iPhone that everybody's got or an iPad or whatever, that seems much more sensible. I still can't decide whether I want to go with the X32 or the X18. It's going to be a finances thing. I mean, it's twice as much, but there are a lot of benefits of using the X32, especially for mobile recording and such. So yeah, if you're around from 5 to 9 tonight, we're going to be in Kailua, and I'm not exactly sure who's playing. I think Mana and Micah's new reggae band will be there. We should have some kids from around the school doing acoustic stuff. And I'm pretty sure Lenore's going to be there shredding as usual. And so I think Lenore and Noah, hopefully he was a bit under the weather last week, so hopefully he's okay now. The reason we don't have our normal lineup like you'd think, our Operation 7.5s and all that, Kill Tuco, the Sailor Jerry Festival's going on tonight. And, I don't want to take away from that because that's awesome. I think like Jason Miller's got all this stuff going on, and most of our kids are out there either playing or watching. So, yeah, it might be a little weird, but it's a good chance for the reggae and acoustic stuff to get a chance at this, since the other bands are going to be out there doing their punk and metal and whatever else is going on at that festival. So, I guess the next thing I got, does anybody know where to get ADAT cables for really cheap? I really need some short ones, actually. And I don't want to pay too much for them. I'm cheap and I'm broke. And the reason for that, this week, it's still this ongoing Dante saga, whatever. I just, I put an ADAT card inside the M32, and that works really, really, really well. And I got an RME Digiface USB in this week. I just put it in last night. I'm actually just testing it out now, so things could go awry. But see, RME device on USB, with their drivers and everything, and their speed at which they update them, and I can put it right next to the ADAT card. It's just a tiny little box. And so I was just wanting to get some short ADAT cables for that. So if anybody knows where to get a bunch of them cheap, let me know, and I will order those, and thank you very much. Now, one of the crazy things was we had this this last week when I was running the ADAT card for the M32 or X32. I was running it with a pair of Motu 2408 Mark IIs. And as far as I know, those devices were made from 1999 till 2003. I think I have that right. These were some of the first audio interfaces ever made. And performance-wise, round-trip latency-wise, and reliability-wise, it's mind-blowing because those things... Talk about computers, you're like, 3 years, that's ancient history. Those are dinosaurs after 3 years. These things are 20 years old. And they're still among the very best possibly get, which is ridiculous. Where are we? So I'm using it with the update of the, I don't know if the 2408 and a couple of the other devices that Motu made. They used, I think they call it audio wire, which is a FireWire cable, but you put a PCI card inside your computer and you plug these things into it, and you can use multiple devices and it treats it as one device, which was just absolutely awesome. So right now I have 48 channels of these things going into my computer. I was going to take them out because I'm going to have the RME in there now, and a little bit scary. The last time these drivers were updated were 2012, so eventually they're going away. But I am in there for a little bit for something I'm going to tell you about in a little after I get through some of this other stuff. But look, if you want a super fast and at the moment rock solid recording setup, these 2408s and things, they go for nothing on eBay and stuff. It's not just so now there's the Mark IIIs as well. There's, I think it's the 24IO Mark III, the 2408 Mark III, and the 896 Mark III. I think that's what it was, or the 1296. Yeah, I think that's what it is, 1296 or something. These were made in 2003, so again, they're ancient. They're super ancient, but they're still. If you go to my round trip latency chart, just type in round trip latency roundup in Google, you'll see that these devices are still unbelievably fast, even compared to the. I mean, you know what? Go to DawBench and look at their performance. They're still right in the top there. I could go punch this up. I'm going to bore you with that. So that's what I want to tell you about these Motus. They're awesome. You know, they might be 20 years old, but if they're working, and they're very best that you can buy for any money today. So the other things, RME comes with total mix, right? So I created this complicated setup, and I'm actually gonna pull this up so anybody's actually. But part of my setup here is it's just this crazy routing. So for the most part, you just your regular thing, your mics. Most of my mics out in the room go to my Midas DL32 mic pre-converter thing. So that's channels 1 through 24, right into the audio interface. And then 25 through 32, I use the 25 through 32 local mic preamps on the M32 in the control room with me. And usually that's just for the mixes and stuff for if I'm in here teaching or recording on the DIs. And those go straight to the cards. And I had been doing all this crazy loopback stuff in order to make this work. With the 2408s, I was actually able to send one SPDIF of one unit to the SPDIF of the other unit, and that saved me some channels. But I have some channels to spare. Out of 32 channels, I'm spare. I've got 13 mics on the drums, and then whatever else after that. It's not like I don't have some spare stuff. There are some weirdnesses with the routing on the how the M32 goes, but there's a lot of ways around it. There's this cat, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. It's not crazy complicated, really fast inside the. So if you have like an X32 rack, I mean, you already know there's some insane routing in that thing, and you could pretty much use it turnkey or whatever, but there's so many different in and out that it's gonna be hard to remember. And actually, I want to talk about that later as well. Maybe this is actually gonna be longer than I thought. I thought this was gonna be a really crazy quick one, but let me show you. So I'm just gonna look at this thing for you guys that you're just listening. You're not gonna see it, but anyway, like I said, the mic recording mics go into the console, and that's fine. That's easy. Does this thing 8-AT out 1 and 2, come back, and they go out to my sound, and you listen to it. That's your regular recording rig. There are headphones out to this thing, and you guys know with the X32s, you can really do a lot with headphones. You could buy those P16 things, or Ultranet, or whatever it is. They're pretty expensive, but they give you like an Ethernet cable goes to these headphone mixer things. You can mix yourself, so you'd have to send whatever you want out to them, or you can use the outputs that these things already have. And there's like a Q mix thing that you can just use an iPad to mix it the same way. So there's lots of stuff. I generally just out there. I don't need them mixing themselves. They don't usually want to. And then I'll route it so that I can hear what I'm getting. So normally I just send them my mix, some talkback, which is another interesting thing with the RME stuff or whatever. Or I give them their own mix plus talkback. So I'm just using 2 pairs basically to get out of Reaper. One's stereo pair for me, and then one possible stereo pair for the Q. And then I've got your regular Windows Audio duties. Those I'm using the 5th and 6th output of the and then it gets goofy because that's right now I'm broadcasting on OBS, right? And remember how many times have we talked about just how hard it is to route audio devices out and in along Windows stuff. And the Mac guy said it's easier for them. You go to check it out. It's really not much different. So let me pull up Total Mix real quick. So if you can see this, I'm not sure just how how obvious this makes it. This is a matrix view, and for one thing, I'm sending my talkback mic, my old Prestone Essential Station 1, into input 27, the local input 27 on my M32. And then I'm just using Total Mix. If you haven't used Total Mix before in the RME stuff, kinda a lot of it was pilfered from Reaper, to be honest, especially the matrix view. But anyway, it's just like a mixing system for the actual hardware. And in the old days when we really had problems with latency, you used it to make a zero latency mix, but it had its own problems to do that. But a lot of people still use it for that, which is awesome. But anyway, I'm sending my talkback mic from input 27 to ADAT 3 and 4 outputs, which are the headphone system outputs for the studio. And so I can just hit my button on the Prestone Essential Station's talkback mic, and it'll send to those channels. And now I don't have to do any complicated weirdness inside the M32. I can just send those outputs straight out to that to the outside world. And Total Mix also has this loopback function, which is how I'm getting to OBS, how I'm sending Reaper to OBS. In fact, oh boy, I hope what's going on out there, and I hope they're not making it onto this recording through Total Mix. I don't have Total Mix set up. Who knows? You can actually see them on those meters. There should actually be more drum. It's kind of disturbing. I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to hit play in Reaper, and let's see if it actually plays. Speaking of, so I'll show you this loop back in a second after we find out if this works. I seem to be all over the place. I'm not really sure what that's about. Hopefully, I have on there. That's actually very disturbing. I don't know how long this whole time. Hate to be calling this drop audio, but yeah, that is not cool. You know what? I'm going to shut this down, and I'm just going to go for whatever it's doing.